The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author willienelson. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by willienelson. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by willienelson has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by willienelson, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author willienelson. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by willienelson, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by willienelson has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today of 4 Girls Missing by willienelson, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, including t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and a lot more. So great gift ideas for your loved ones. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And coming soon to the MikeWagnerShow.com makes great gifts year round. And for more great gift ideas, including hoodies, as well as phone cases, t-shirts, and a lot more, and new items every day, go to Amazon.com and check out the willienelson store, and also check out his great books as well, too, including Missing, Once, and a lot more. Go to Amazon.com and check out the willienelson store. And, of course, you can also support us as well, too, at the MikeWagnerShow.com with your generous donation. You can also support us through Anchor FM/support and also through PayPal, and make sure you do so today. We're here with 2 terrific people who And of course, they contributed in a book called The Spree of 83, which is the Freddy Powers memoir. And of course, a little bit about this legend here. It's a memoir about an influential country jazz musician. Yes, that's a book right there, Spree of 83. Also musician, songwriter, and sidekick to Willie Nelson and Merlehaggard, the outlaw days back in days of country. He passed away at 84, most recently, and covers a lot of, aspects in life of Freddy Powers and some amazing stories and, just some really clever ones, and covers music, friends, and songwriting, childhood, early career, and a lot more as well, too. And he also co-hosted a talk show host and released the Country Jazz Singer in 2000 and had Parkinson's in 04. But here today, we're here to remember a legend in Freddy Powers. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios somewhere in the USA, we got the co-authors of the Freddy Powers memoir. We've got Catherine Powers and we got Jake Brown. Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, it's great to
get pillows made like you've got there with Freddy's face on them.
Oh, you know something? I'll have to check up on that. You'll have to message me on Facebook, and we'll try to get some information. So if you do get a pillow, we'll have a little pillow fight or something to see who's up better. and of course, we're here to talk about the book, The Spree of 83, the Freddy Powers memoir. And we got you guys contributing. It's about memoir about the influential country jazz musician Freddy Powers and songwriter, sidekick to Willie Nelson, Merlehaggard. Passed away at 84, and it was
2016.
2016. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just trying to I was trying to find that on the internet, and for some reason it was not letting me. But
he was 84 when he passed in 2016.
Okay, yeah. Got it. Okay, well, glad you clarified as well too, and just covers various areas of Freddy Powers, and they got some great stories to share. And he also co-hosted a talk show and also released a country jazz singer in 2000. And before we get into all that, guys, let's introduce. So, Catherine, let's talk to you about how you got started with the book, how you got to know Freddy, and Jake, since you contributed, and you can also tell us how you got started. So, one of you go first.
Catherine, why don't you start?
Well, Freddy and I actually got together back in 1986, and I started out as his booking agent, working for him. And later on became the girlfriend, well, actually the gal they ran around with, and then the girlfriend, and then the wife. But Freddy had started this book himself, actually, over the years. And luckily, I was able to find old journals and notebooks and little scrap paper and all kinds of stuff where he had started working on this book himself. And then when he had been diagnosed with the Parkinson's, it became important to all of us that he tell his story and we get it out, basically for his family and friends and grandchildren to remember him by. Mm-hmm. So this to me is like I'm fulfilling Freddy's dream of getting this book out. So.
And to add on to what Catherine is saying, this beautiful product that I'm holding in my hand that you can buy this Friday, starting in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. We started on this book 9 years ago. And to add some context, I met Catherine and Freddy the first time they were at the hospital. Freddy's Parkinson's had gotten to where they'd come to town to do an interview for my National Songwriter Series and weren't necessarily going to make it. She handed me a really well-worn early version, maybe 80 pages of the now 300 and plus page book that Freddy had started and she together. And, if you spiral outward with Freddy's influence, it goes so many generations about, but within country, it's not just among new artists and performers, but even on Merle. And way back in the day, Willie and Freddy met together through a gentleman named Paul Buskirk, who was a mentor to both of them. Wow. So Freddy's influence in terms of his Dixieland jazz, which he's widely now thankfully being credited with introducing for the first time into the country mainstream, is really fundamental when you go back to those kind of early relationships with Willie, then Merle. And then you talk to people like John Rich in the book from Big and Rich and Kenny and others, Pauline Reese, Mary Sarah, other artists who were influenced by him over those next 60 years with his very unique guitar playing style and songwriting style. The other important thing you touched on that we think is really important within the Parkinson's part of the story is that Freddy actually, versus a lot of people that completely understandably are overtaken by the disease, they retire from the stage if they're entertainers, or if they're Robin Williams, rest in peace, he took his life when he found out he was diagnosed, knowing what was ahead of him. Freddy and Catherine vowed to actually stay out on the road. They were in a tour bus the last 10 years of his life with a hospital bed in the front. Catherine was his nurse, his tour driver, his manager, his everything. She'd carry him on her back over to the couch to sit down when I'd come over there every week on Music Row to do interviews. She's amazing. And so this is both of their story, but it really tells you how somebody can inspire somebody else when they could otherwise just have been defeated by it. Freddie, when he lost his ability to play guitar, he kept singing, telling jokes, like he kept touring the world. I mean, and Catherine kept him out there on the road, which kept him alive years longer. So it's really an inspirational story as much as it is an entertaining one.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I was just thinking about, with the book of Spree of 83 as well, too, that it wasn't necessarily, just 1983 went on the spree, and it happened throughout the 80s as well, too. And, just an interesting spree that, he did. It's like, working with
Merle.
And yes, that's right. With Merlehaggard, that, they were both separated, divorced at the time, and they just had houses together. They toured together and partied together. It's like, they really went on a spree, literally.
They actually did. And Freddie had built an airplane right there on the boat dock. And if they weren't fishing, they were partying or writing songs or touring. They were. And that started in like 1979 and went all the way up to the end of the 90s, actually. So
yeah,
it was quite spree.
There's the scene that opens the screenplay, which you've also completed, and we're in the process of producing when this COVID hit, where Freddie's flying, and real exactly as it happened, flying over Lake Shasta, and he would either be looking for fish or women, and I'll let Catherine tell that story. Merle would be
or women. You mean mermaids? Is that what he's looking for?
Not exactly.
Well, I guess you could call them mermaids.
R-rated mermaids. Naked mermaids. Yeah.
Merle was actually the one on the ground, and he called himself the control tower in the Hotel Troubadour, which was the name of his houseboat. Freddy's was called the USSF boat. And it's true. Freddie would fly around and he would radio back to Merle and say, "Hey, I've just found a school of shad," which meant there was fish around. Or he would say, "Oh, wait a minute, I just found some naked women swimming over in Jones Valley Cove." And Merle would go, "I'll meet you in Jones Valley Cove."
Yeah, Frank Sinatra called once actually and invited Merle and Freddie to come play with him for Reagan on the White House lawn. Tell him what they told him, Catherine.
They were too busy.
With all the girls and the fun and the songs. And when they weren't partying, they were writing. That's the other important thing. Freddie and Merle wrote well over 300 or 400 songs together. I don't know of those how many were recorded. There's 43 that Merle cut, I believe, right, Catherine?
Right.
On various albums of Freddie's.
Right.
But the other thing that's really important about the 1980s with respect to Freddie and his ascension into a more mainstream recognition of country, we have a soundtrack. It's actually one of the first official book soundtracks for a country memoir ever. It's on Spotify, iTunes, some of the places you mentioned, well, everywhere really. You can listen to excerpts from the Ralph Emery Show. And Freddie, by that point, had become really a known commodity within country, like overnight, because Merle's hits became so huge at a time where it was like a new era for Merle with respect to new kids, MTV, new tours and things they were doing. And Freddie was with him the entire, whether they were riding on Shasta or out on the road, songs like Silver Eagle, Little Hotel Room, which Ray Charles later recorded. Freddie really got his recognition as a songwriter. It wasn't until his 50s, even though he'd been doing it for years. Merlehaggard really helped bring that out of him. And then Willie in the 90s, really just from another completely side of the book, there's the remarkable friendships. He lived up on Willie Nelson's golf course, and Catherine can give you, adventure after adventure up there. They had a television show, as you mentioned.
Oh my God. Something, that's one thing I wanted to do is play golf and smoke one with Willies. It's like, I love to hear about it. I mean, you just tell about the golf course, the stories and everything. And makes me want on the road again, Catherine.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun. I will have to say I do miss that life. But Willie, actually, his bus was parked in our driveway when we first moved there. We moved to the McDavid house there in Spicewood. And Willie's house was up on the hill behind us. But he parked his bus down in that driveway, and all he had to do was roll out of bed, of course, light up one, get on the golf course, and head out and play some golf. And so it was really convenient for him.
Which oftentimes he was doing with Freddy. And then there's these legendary golf tournaments that we bring. I don't know if a lot of other books have talked about these tournaments. They were wild parties. Matthew McConaughey would show up there, Owen Wilson, James Gardner, astronauts, and here'd be Freddy and Willie in a, Buzz Aldrin and somebody else in a car together. And then they would play songs all night. I mean, it was incredible, the life that these guys lived up there, these lives and ladies.
I know, it's really cool when my grandkids, and they hear that their grandpa played golf with, oh my God, his mind just went, mine just went blank.
Astronaut?
Yes.
Buzz
Aldrin?
Well, he played with Buzz Aldrin and Charlie Duke, but Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, that's the one. I was trying to think of the astronauts too, and we're watching a movie about that. So there's Buzz, there's Neil, there's John Glenn, and
there's Freddy.
Yeah, Freddy, that's right. Yeah. I guess he wanted to be an astronaut too. So
he was in a lot of ways. This man generated his own electricity living off the grid. Tell her he was an engineer. He built his own airplanes. Tell him about this story about in the ground with the freezer. He made this crazy
in the ground with a freezer. This is
well, actually what he did is we made our own electricity. We lived up in the mountains. We had this little cabin up there. And he took a double door refrigerator and buried it on his back in the ground. And on one side, he put a Pelton wheel. And on the other side, he put a generator. And he put those big old extension cords all the way up to the top of the cabin. And we made our own electricity.
Wow.
They had a spring that ran down the side of the mountain that they drew.
Yeah, it was a spring that was on our property, that started on our property and went back underground before it left our property. But yeah, he made our own electricity. We chopped wood. We had a wood heating tub. We had a wood heated, we heated the cabin by wood, and we had our own garden, and we lived off the grid.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you something too in terms of making electricity. Did you include the instructions how to make electricity in the book? Because during these times, people are interested. It's like living off the grid. It's like, how do I make electricity, and how do I do my own garden and all that?
He taught me how to do it. So you just call me.
In this book, you can learn not only that, you can learn how to build an airplane. You can learn how to play guitar with the specific Freddy Powers chords, which he's legendary for. And on our soundtrack, there's actually a 6-song EP he made, a little acoustic demo we released along with the rest of it. He also, though, made a lot of stars. He made a lot of people really to take flight for the first time, whether it was giving them, an endorsement spot or giving them an opening act gig, or it is picking parties, which are legendary. Catherine can tell you about in the Millennium. He helped launch a lot of people. He was very, very generous behind the scenes too. Mm-hmm. That's why he lasted so long, in part, along with his talent range, is that and then when he had Parkinson's, to see the reciprocal way that people gave back was remarkable. Mm-hmm. Remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Freddy was real generous for this time, and he wanted to always teach, those that were coming up, the how-tos and whatnots to do in the business. And if he could open a door for them, he would. It's like Little Mary Sarah was his last project. He was executive producer on an album called Bridges, where he hooked her up doing duets with people like Merle and Willie and Ray Price and Tanya Tucker and Dolly Parton. There was just 13 people on that album, with actually closing the album with her and Freddy doing a duet on All I Want to Do Is Sing My Song.
Then she goes on to be on The Voice and Grand Ole Opry. As just one example.
And right now she's got a new one coming out with her and David Frizzell. What is that one? God Made Oklahoma?
Yeah.
God Made Oklahoma. That you're saying, is that David Frizzell? Okay. I'm just trying to think back here. So
that is okay. It's been 40 years since that song was first released, and he and Mary Sarah just did a duet on it, re-releasing that song. So
the songwriting echoing too, throughout the book. If you talk about Freddy as a songwriter, where not just, for instance, Merle and George Jones both took "I'll Always Get Lucky with You" to number one. It was George Jones' last number one. But there are songs that are still today recorded and performed equally as much live among Freddy's catalog, just all over the place, because of all of these different generations that grew up hearing them, be it through Haggard or George Jones or off Willie or anywhere else. His songs and their catalog and legacy, we really want to emphasize as well, which you can hear.
Hayes Carl and what was Joe's Hayes Carl and the
John Doe from X.
They actually did. It's kind of like a punk rock country version of "I Always Get Lucky with You."
Yeah, that was our first Rolling Stone placement. Was actually because of that song. We got our first, Freddie and me and Catherine got our first Rolling Stone, and then a review that led to a review. And in fact, that review is on the back of this beautiful book, and it says, "A freewheeling, often poignant oral history of one of country music's unsung heroes." And throughout this book, be it Rattlesnake Annie, be it John Rich, Big and Rich, Tandy Tucker, Willie, Merle, all the big guys, they
Larry
all
Gatlin,
really, yeah, Larry Gatlin, Sonny Throckmorton, they all go on and on about Freddie's influence in ways that help you see it from new angles. It's really a 3D look at it.
And it sounds interesting too. And who are some of his favorite artists, singers, and musicians growing up? And Catherine, you probably know more about it. So who are some of his favorite artists, singers, and musicians growing up?
You know what? I will have to say that Django Reinhardt was one of his big influences on him. And that's because of Paul Busker. And like you said, Paul Busker was Willie and Freddie's mentor growing up. So, but Cole Porter, just he had quite a few of them back in those days.
Vaudeville, Dixieland Jazz, there's all kinds. His family was a performing band as well, vaudeville and other things. He grew up in an incredibly.
Matter of fact, that's a picture of the family band right behind me.
That's the family band right behind her there.
Oh, I see that. Wow. And what year was that?
Oh God, that would have probably been in the 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is there any chance, Catherine, you can take it down and we can have a closer look, or is that going to cause it to fall?
Actually, it does come down.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, that's the family band. That's his brother. He has two brothers in there, and it's the whole family.
And which one? And which one's Freddie?
Freddy is the little one with the hat on right there.
The little one on the hat. Oh, my goodness.
He's the short one in the group.
Wow.
There's a picture in here of Freddie's mom right there. Can you see that?
Freddie's mom. Wow.
That's Freddie's mother singing on stage. So his whole family, Norma, his sister who talked to us for the book, had albums, Christian albums of hers. His brother, Don, in fact, another member of the family in the book is his nephew, Troy Powers, which we should mention. Quite an entertaining character and talent. And Troy tells some great stories about being on the road with Freddie, which within the 60s and 70s is really quite an entertaining section of the book. It's more R-rated. But the story, we've been trying to present this book because it is very family friendly as well. But there's definitely, like, this is a movie, if we get to make it the way we want it, that's going to have, definitely a PG-13 rating, because he had some wild times, even before Merle in the 80s with Mona's and all of the crazy stuff. He used to party with mobsters. He had Power of the Pen. He had a house residency at El Dorado, and a pentop, up in the roof, very top of the thing was his. And he had a caddy every year, a new caddy. They'd known him all over town for driving. He won Entertainment of the Year in '78. Tell him about Power of the Pen and the mobsters he used to hang out with, Catherine.
This is going to be interesting.
Well, back in those days, the casinos were basically owned by the mafia. And Freddie would joke and say that he worked for the mafia, although he was never a part of the mafia. But they all had titles like the beverage manager or entertainment director and hotel manager and stuff like that. So Freddie hung out with people like, Alan Glick and Lefty Rosenthal. And he had a great friendship with Jack Ruby. And but he did have the power of the pen, where he could get you set up with a hotel room or buy your food or your drinks and get you a marker on the table, which that was a huge thing, is being able to go and sign somebody to be able to play on the table. If they didn't have the cash in the pocket, he could still get them a guarantee on the tables.
Interesting.
Yeah. Whenever Willie and Merle or anybody would come through town, Willie especially, because they stayed in touch, he'd come over Freddie would sit with him, or he'd come over and sit with Freddie, and it would piss the hotel managers up, because the whole casino floor would come over into that lounge to try to getting in to listen to those guys playing together. And that playing that they did together was so marvelous, because it was a certain style of guitar that only really Willie said in the book, 2 people really know how to do it. It's Paul Buskirk, Willienelson, and Freddy Powers that learned this very unique kind of style of Texas swing and all these other amalgams of different playing styles. And Freddy then took that and put it into a Dixieland jazz. We have 2 live albums that's part of the book release, live in Vegas 75 and live in Reno. You can hear across all streaming platforms that capture in the moment how amazing this guy was as a musician, aside from everything else.
That does sound amazing. Go ahead, Catherine. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that they did that all the time. It's like, matter of fact, one time it was in the same town in Lake Tahoe. We had Merle playing in one of the casinos. Willie was playing in another one, and Dottie West was playing. And one night we ended up with Willie, Merle, and Dottie West, and half of their band all up on stage with Freddie's band. There was so many band members. They actually.
Uh-oh.
I
think Freddie's trying to get your attention here, like these spirits or something. It's like he's trying to get your attention.
Yeah. But there was so many people on the stage that they actually were standing behind the curtain. And when they get a solo, they come out in the front of the stage, do their solo. They go back behind the curtain because there was so many of them up there. But also another one that was Roger Miller.
Oh, yeah, Roger Miller, King of the Road. I remember that.
Yes, he would come over and hang out with Freddie, and they would, do shows together on stage there. So, and especially at John Esquaga's Nugget, that was one of the major places where everybody in the business would come through, and coming and hanging out and doing shows with Freddie was kind of like a norm there. They actually called him the Jammer. Freddie they called him the Jammer, and they knew that if he was even supposed to, close the show at 12 o'clock, sometimes it would go on a little bit longer because there would be so many stars on that stage with him.
Mm-hmm. And I can imagine too, you talk about with him, being with the mafia and all that. I was thinking that he could have a nickname like the Godfather or something, he liked to play and speak with his hands, but why?
He was the king of the strip, man. He was the king of this. He was called, actually, he had a title. His title was Ambassador of Goodwill officially.
Ambassador Goodwill. Interesting.
Yeah, that was his title there in Nevada. And so in Reno, the El Dorado, he was really close friends with the Caranos and just so many people there, involved in his career and in his life. So
everyone loves Freddy.
Jack Ruby. He and Jack Ruby were really good friends. Jack had his club over in Dallas and Freddie had his in Arlington, and they would swap out entertainment for each other's clubs, or Freddie would go and play at Jack Ruby's club, and Jack Ruby gave him a little dog one time, a little puppy. And
nice.
I know, it was a sweet story. So
before all the Lee Harvey Oswald shenanigans.
Yeah, before Lee Harvey Oswald. Matter of fact, Freddie would always get upset when he would watch those documentaries, and it made Jack, sound like this guy that was put up to doing this by a mafia or whatever. And Freddie was like, Jack was just a real patriotic person, and he loved John F. and Jackie as well. He just loved them. And when that happened, Jack just wanted to get back. He wanted to get even for John F.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And we'll talk more about the book of Spree of 83 and also a couple of his projects as well, too, with the country jazz singer released in 2000 and also co-host the talk show. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mian Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mian Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forge Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, including t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. Great gift ideas year-round. And for more great gift ideas, 365, including great books by me and Molson Zia and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the me and Molson Zia store. Make sure you order it today, and also support us generously on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, we appreciate your support on Anchor FM/support and PayPal, and make sure you do it today. We're here with two wonderful people talking about the book, The Spree of 83, the Freddy Powers memoir, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Catherine Powers and Jake Brown. It's a great pleasure to have you guys talking about this, and maybe a bit more about the Spree of 83. It covers some other things, like with childhood, and a bit more about the career, and also with songwriting, and maybe just a few more tidbits about the Spree of 83, which is great.
Absolutely. Catherine, with respect to the Parkinson's era, one thing that really is kind of remarkable about this story, because we wrote it in real time. I met Freddy in 2012. 2016 he passed, but for the last 2.5-ish years that he could talk, he was involved very personally. Every week we would work, and then he'd go to Florida, we'd come visit. But beyond that Catherine kept him on the road on this tour bus. The support that came back to him from people like Big and Rich, where the book soundtrack, Spree of 83 official, that since you were promoting, you can get that on Spotify, iTunes, etc. At the very end, you hear a tribute live at a Big and Rich arena show where they bring Freddy out on stage. But this went on all over the country, wherever he would go. If it was award ceremonies, he was inducted into all these halls of fame. There's pictures in the book of him with everybody that was there with him, Chris Christopherson and Toby Keith, all over the map. Freddy would roll into the room in his wheelchair, and it would become almost a bigger thing than whoever would, you know what I mean, for that moment, because it was like, wow, there he is. He's not off in some hospital somewhere. He's here. He would tour in places like Europe, the Echo Blues Festival. There's a charming story. Tell them, Catherine, if you would, about when he was, the belts and everything to keep him going. The support for this man to keep him out there was remarkable, like even as his condition worsened.
Well, actually, the support was phenomenal, because people like Merle and Willie and Big and Rich and the whole music mafia, Gretchen Wilson, all of them, they supported us with keeping, us financially capable of keeping Freddy out on the road, sending us an envelope full of gas cards and stuff for every gas station across the country. And like I said, we took Freddy to Europe with his band Stop the Truck. And he was up there. They had put this big, beautiful chair. It was almost like it was a chair built for a king set up there. And because of the Parkinson's, you move around a lot, and Freddy would shake and he would start sliding out of the chair. So in the middle of the show, they actually stopped the show and they took off their belts and they belted Freddy into this chair for him to finish that concert with 10,000 people. And
wow.
It was absolutely remarkable. And to watch them line dance to songs like Looking for a Place to Fall Apart, because they line danced to everything. And it was just really super special. And, it was, like I said, it was one of his last trips to Europe to perform.
He had his own Parkinson's Foundation too. He had a Parkinson's cruise. The things that he did to not only raise awareness for Parkinson's, but keep a face out there that associated with it, that was already famous within country, and getting more famous with all these legacy acknowledgments and new generations that were, discovering or supporting Freddy. The other thing that was really significant, the money they raised, and the fact that he set such an example, and I'll let Catherine speak to that, to show that you can be brave and go out there and still go on with your life and live a full life. And it's remarkable. Tell them about, if you would, a little bit about that.
Well, I was, and still today, I still have people that will call me, especially musicians that, and tell me they've just been diagnosed with Parkinson's, but because of Freddy paving the way and showing that, just because you've been diagnosed with something doesn't mean you have to go and hide yourself in a closet and just give up. And I have them actually, writing and calling and saying, Freddy showed me I don't have to give up, and I'm not going to give up. And to see that they're still out there working and trying to, just not let the disease. Freddy always said that he had Parkinson's. Parkinson's didn't have him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a vicious disease. Vicious to watch in person. It's vicious.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we've seen it happen too to a lot of people. And of course, Michael J. Fox was probably the most prominent. And, right now my mind is at a blank. And the first thing I think about is Parkinson's is Michael J. Fox and
Robin Williams.
And Robin Williams, yes, and quite a few others. And, right now this is pretty much something that, needs to be addressed as well, too, along with some other issues like PTSD and the pandemic and whatever else.
Well, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's those were actually considered a disease that primarily struck the elderly in an agricultural area. But now it has become more of an inner city and younger people as young as, we've had a 13-year-old in the United States to actually develop Parkinson's. But we had this one young man that was like 22 or 23 years old, that had severe Parkinson's, that came out and did a show with us one time. Matter of fact, it was at Willie's July the 4th picnic. And so Freddy was, he was very generous, and being an inspiration was quite, special to him.
He lived 10 years longer than they projected he would, too, both by the efforts of namely this lady right here. I would watch her. We would sit there and on this tour bus, she would pick him up on her back, move him over to the sofa so he could sit there with me and talk. She'd move him back to the bed. She would take a stomach tube out and feed him, and she would do all these, and gracefully and very respectfully, because there was so many people always on the bus wanting to hang out with Freddy. So Catherine would hear be entertaining or doing business and say, hold on, I got to turn him over and get his sheets done, or they would do with the pillow. Or it was amazing to watch the quality of life that he had, and through her, and also when they moved to Florida at the very end of his life, the last 4 years to Floribama, the support the songwriting community gave him was remarkable too.
Mm-hmm. Actually, when we came down to Florida, that I had taken him out of the hospital, and they said that he only had 3 to 4 months left, and brought him down here to the Floribama, and we lived in their parking lot for nearly 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Looking at the water
and having all the entertainment and just this is another place where a lot of people coming in and out of. It's actually known as the Songwriters Paradise. There's a lot of songwriters that live down here. And matter of fact, I'm going this weekend. I'm going to be working what we call the Hoodstock. It's not Woodstock. We have the Hoodstock.
Woodstock, yeah, that's good.
We have the Hoodstock, and we'll have a lot of musicians and songwriters that'll be coming into Floribama for this. So
Kenny Chesney has a song about the Floribama and does a concert down there. It's a #1 hit. This place is a legendary club. And Freddy, his Rolling Stone placement is now on the wall in there, along with all these other songwriters that have various acknowledgments or awards or things they've donated. But what would be really touching too is if Catherine would get him off the bus and over across the road into the main club. They would ignite, oh, wow, we have, revered company in the house tonight. Freddie Powers is with us. And people would and then someone would play a song, one of his songs up there. And these are not that any songwriter isn't welcome there, but these are not just starter songwriters. These are like the, Don Schlitz plays here and Whitey Schaefer, who was a good friend of Freddie's, and a lot of really revered songwriters, even if they were in the audience or if they were on stage. It was always Freddie's songs were in their repertoires.
That is so amazing. And lastly, as well, too, what did he base his lyrics on?
Everything.
You know what? Freddie always said it was all about what you see, what you hear. He was an observer, and so a lot of it just come from observing. But songs like Chase Each Other Around the Room, he was actually on the bus with a gal that he was running around with back in those days, and they were called gals. They didn't get to be girlfriends for a while. And we're coming out of Canada, and she said, Freddie, when we get to the hotel, I'm going to chase you around the room. Well, it didn't take Merle and Freddy, 10 minutes, and they had a number one out of it,
Yeah, Natural High is another huge one. We actually in the book have things like there's 100 pages of color photos in this book, which comes out Friday. And including Natural High's lyrics. I'm not going to waste our time turning them, but they're in there.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, but you really get taken inside the heart of his creative mind, the people that he impacted. In terms of, you were asking about, things that have lasted in terms of Freddy and being remembered. He really is credited appropriately now as introducing Dixieland jazz into country music's mainstream for like the first time. American Songwriter did a remarkable story this week on the book and interviewed us and talked about that. And that was their byline. So the fact that with Merle is helping, no question that Merle elevated Freddy and Willie into the position to be appreciated as this kind of influence. But really you get the behind the scenes story here of just how remarkably close him and merlehaggard were, how remarkably close him and Willie were, how remarkably close him and legends like Floyd Tillman, who's in the book, and Paul Buskirk, who's in the book a little bit from past interviews that we were able to call, Freddie's own diaries, Tanya Tucker, John Rich, Kenny, both from that band, and on and on and on and on, Larry Gatlin. It's not that we're name dropping. We're just illustrating the broad array of stars that really help illuminate the story and show you just how special an influence this guy, was when he was alive. And now that he's watching over us.
Mm-hmm. And of course, last thing as well, too, what was the last thing that Freddy did before he passed on?
Well, I will tell you that his last tour was with the Last of the Breed tour, and that was with Willie and Merle, Ray Price, and Ray Benson and Sleep at the Wheel. And then his final project was the young lady Mary Sarah, like I was telling you earlier, the Bridges album. He was the executive producer, connecting Mary Sarah with virtually, Freddie always said that if you had wrote a hit song and made somebody a star out of it, that would be a major credit. But it also in producing someone and getting their foot out there. And so producing Mary Sarah and this album was one of his final project that he did. So
then along with this book, there's an upcoming film we've already written the screenplay on that we're hoping to get back on track. But he also, within his final projects that he was talking with us about before he passed and had a vision for, he really sees this as a film. And we are dedicated, now that the book is out and properly out and being promoted on properly, like on venues like this, we're keeping the word out there about that because we're trying to continue to manifest his dream, because his life was just that entertaining. It was absolutely, in fact, we designed this book to look like a movie poster.
Wow,
so you kind of
amazing.
Get that vibe. We got the Smokey and the Bandit font for the title and everything. But it's really, it's so much fun to listen along. The official book soundtrack and the live in Reno and live in Vegas records, you can listen while you read and just get a full 3D sense of this gentleman, or go to our YouTube channel or the spreeof83book.com, where we have live videos from different eras of his career. It's really an action-packed book.
That sounds amazing. We'll talk about how we can get the book, a little bit more about the film, and a couple more projects with Catherine and Jake Brown talking about the late, great Freddy Powers and the Freddy Powers memoir and the Spree of 83. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author willienelson Z of Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with Catherine Powers and Jake Brown of the Spree of 83 and the Freddy Powers memoirs after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with Catherine and Jake Brown of the Spree of 83 here on the Mike Wagner Show, covering pretty much of Freddy Powers' amazing life. And once again, you talked about having a screenplay about Freddy Powers. When do we expect the screenplay to be out in theaters? What's the timeline?
We hope in the next 2 or 3 years. One thing we've learned from the first go around is, and I have another show called About that starts in December, where I interview best-selling authors. It's a streaming show, and I talked to a number of them that have had 1 or 2 big movies. Took them 10 years to get it made. So when we've learned this through other people we've been talking to, and producers and directors and different people we've been casting out, that that's why we're just committed. It took 9 years to get the book out. We hope it doesn't take another 10 years to get the movie, but we've already had to
see it before I go.
Yeah, we've already though had discussions that got kind of involved before COVID ruined all of it, with respect to some really great actors that have been talking about playing Freddy. There's interest there among a lot of really, really talented people. And one thing that you will see in the film that Catherine and I have been determined to make sure of is that this isn't bullshit with respect to the real performing artists. These have to be actors that are also musicians equally of talent, or maybe even musicians that you'll discover through the movie for whom they portray among Freddy's supporting cast of people. But there's so much music that this gentleman made with so many people that it's really an action aspect of the movie unto itself, because these guys were like Austin City Limits. You can see that on the YouTube channel. I mean, you watch Willie and Freddy and Merle sitting there picking back and forth, and it rivals Eddie Van Halen and Joe Satriani, who I wrote his memoir with. I can speak to personally, Steve Vai. It's like watching a G3 tour, but for country and Dixieland. So these guys, amazing talents that we hope to play these parts so they can really try to replicate them in reality, because they were amazing, unique, one-off, once-in-a-lifetime talents like Freddy and Willie and Merle and others.
And of course, just a couple of things too. Quickly, he also co-hosted a talk show and released the Country Jazz Singer in 2000. Maybe a bit more about that.
Well, it was called the Rodgers and Hammerhead Show, and it was a song, basically songwriters. He and Bill McDavid would interview songwriters, but they didn't just talk about their songs, but he wanted the public to know how they wrote their songs and how they were able to get them out on the radio, and how'd you go about getting produced and all this stuff. So it was more of like an educational songwriters show.
Cable Ace Award nominee.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a Cable Ace nominee.
And they would have up to 200 people in the audience out there. And their audience was often, as it was filled with people Freddie had invited, like for the first time looking a foot in the door, and also legends like Coach Royal and Will. Others would sit there and just watch the show. You could enjoy it. It was remarkable. And we have actual songs and excerpts from that show in the book soundtrack as well.
That is so amazing. Once again, where can we find the Spree of 83 and all of Freddy Powers' works at?
You can go to the spreaker83book.com to get info on these things, but mainly all of the streaming platforms for the music. And the book's going to be in stores Friday, and then over the next, with COVID, it's got to filter down some places, but we have great Barnes & Noble orders, of course, Amazon.com, the Kindle ebook for any of your Nook. I can't even keep track of all these different Gobos and different digital readers people have these days, but it's available everywhere. And the thing that's really, really been touching so far, we've had thisisreno.com did a really nice feature. We've had American Songers, I mentioned, Music Row. It's not the press in the sense that Freddy's getting press. It's that he's getting the respect within these reviews and coverage. They're really in depth, and the interest is really still there for this guy's life, because it's never really fully been appreciated before in the magnitude that it was. This guy was a star in so many different universes by never having to really be one, in a sense that he never sought the spotlight out. It's like the people sought him. Do you know what I mean? He never sought the stars out. Merlehaggard could have spent 10 years with anybody he wanted as neighbors on houseboats and on his buses, writing number ones. And he chose Freddy. And Freddy, this friendship was a lifelong one. Catherine, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that Merle actually bought Freddy the houseboat to live next door to him. And they had been driving back and forth, spending all the time that they could together, either in Reno or Lake Tahoe or up on Redding. And one day Merle said, Freddy, why don't you get a houseboat and move in next door to me? And Freddy looked at him and said, Merle, I don't have the kind of money that you have. and Merle goes, the money I got. And Merle went out and he paid $85,000 and bought Freddy a houseboat and set it right next door to him.
1981 or 80. I mean, this was way back in the day. Yeah. And then on top of that, Freddy, because he was such an engineer, he built his own plane and then had an aircraft carrier. And Catherine, how did they refer to it? It was the only one on the lake.
The only aircraft carrier on the lake, the USSF boat. But he had a hydraulic lift that he had put up on the back of the houseboat. So the airplane would set up on top of the houseboat as they would go down the lake or over to the Pitt River. And he was a aircraft carrier.
Oh, my gosh.
Freddy was awesome. Well, you know what? And Freddy was also a Marine. Matter of fact, he was this, what they called the criminal, it was CID, which is a criminal investigator.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of funny, given the shenanigans he got.
Yes, being that Freddy was actually one of those that busted people for marijuana, and they would burn the marijuana, to becoming a marijuana smoker, to it also becoming a medicinal for Freddy, and it actually saved his life one time. So
kept him alive much longer than he would have. And and that's within the other thing about his life that if you just even took little corner pockets of it. You asked about others. There's a chapter in here called Diamond Gems, and Catherine tracked down the actual bartender and head waitress from the 1960s, late 60s. They remembered and intimately remembered Freddy because this place was a dinner house where there would be women swinging from trapezes on the ceilings. And you had to have a club, a private membership to get in. And Freddy would come up there and play for wintertime, or he would play in anywhere you could name all over the country. People remember this guy 50 years later because he was that entertaining of a musician. But equally, he was also a guy who was on the Tonight Show and the Today Show way back in 1961 and 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was already early in his career being, getting these kind of national spotlights. But he was also an amazing, in terms of the amount of people that we keep going back to the people he helped, the people he taught. He had these things that are now famous in country music called Freddy Powers chords. If you were an aspiring guitar player, Frank Liddell, Miranda Lambert's producer, talks about them. Willie talks about them. Merle talks about them. They are legendary. In this book, you not only can learn how those chords are deconstructed music theory-wise, because his band members break it down, but on the book soundtrack, he actually has a 6-song instructional acoustic EP that we found among his archives and included. And he calls out chords. It just takes you into every corner of his universe. If you're interested in learning anything about any part of it, we've given you access musically to it, or visually or whatever. But the stories carry the book. There's so many remarkable people that are in this book to sing his praises along with him.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And lastly, what would be the best advice that Freddy would give to anybody at this point?
He would, if you were a songwriter, he would say, be your own judge. And he always used his example was the song, Always Get Lucky With You. He went to call it, he had written it many years before he met Merle. And he went to call it one night on stage, and one of his band members turned to him and said, oh no, Freddy, I don't like that song. So Freddy ditched that song. And for years, that song just laid. And then when he got together with Merle, he was working on it one day when Merle walked in and asked him what he was working on. And he said, oh, it's an old song. I don't know if it's any good or not. And Merle asked him, he said, what's the title of it? And he said, Always Get Lucky With You. And Merle jumped up and said, well, Freddy, the title alone is the number one. So Freddy always says, be your own judge. If you think it's good and you like singing it and playing it and you never get tired of it, then it's probably a good song. And if it's a hit song, you don't have to sell it. It'll break itself out.
Wow, that is very good advice. I like that. I'll have to be my own judge one day. So it's amazing. Catherinepowers and Jake Brown of the Spree of 83, the Freddy Powers memoir on the Mike Wagner Show. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on 2021 and beyond with more great stories. Once again, tell us where we can find the book, what's the website, and how can people purchase or get to listen to some of Freddy Powers' music and more.
You can go look up the Freddy Powers official book soundtrack on Spotify. Robert Hurst, the beautiful cover art is by Robert Hurst. And you can also check out Live in Vegas 75 and Live in Reno, which are both available. Of course, the book, The Spree of 83, Life and Times of Freddy Powers, you can get on Amazon. You can get it on barnesandnoble.com. All of the digital platforms. The ebook's going to be out next week. The physical book is going to be in Barnes & Noble Friday and beyond that. And we hope, like we said, one day to be back to talk about the big silver screen version of the book, which we are very ambitious and intent on making in the next 2 or 3 years to fulfill Freddy's dream completely.
Mm-hmm. We're certainly looking forward to that. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to keep in touch. And you've been terrific. And tell Freddy I said hi.
Thank you.
I tell him.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.